Hey guys, Terra from Cosplay here. I am coming to you with a wonderful interview with Randy Cavanagh, who is the maker of Armorsmith Designer. It is the foremost program for cosplay building, in my opinion, and I think it's probably the only program for armor building at this point. And it is just godly. I mean, I used it myself for the Terminator. I wish I had it for the other costumes that I made. It was amazing to be able to resize this thing to exactly what I wanted it to be. Now we're going to have a bit of a chat to Randy about it. He's going to give us the 411 on all things Armorsmith. Now, down in the comment in the description area, there is a link to his webpage. By all means, go and check it out. We're just going to have a bit of a run through and whatnot. So, all right. So here we are. Randy, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So here, guys, we have Randy Kavanagh. As I said, Armorsmith designer, god of cosplay programming.
One of the only ones, I think.
One of the only ones. Oh, actually, I mean, I've been looking around forever and a day for a decent program that would do the job. And then thanks to Dave Barnes, I'm trying to remember Dave Barnes's cosplay handle, but he did the Reinhardt here
Yeah.
in Australia, and several other decent, amazing cosplays. Now he was the one who put me onto Armorsmith Designer, and I've got nothing but praise for the man for doing so because it just saved me a world of hurt. Now it was a little bit of a learning curve, and I'm going to just jump straight in and go there, you've got to change those numbers to percentages.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
so instead of
Which ones are those?
1.00, it should be 100,
Oh,
and
yeah. That.
that would make so much more practical sense. But we'll get back to that in a
Yep.
second.
Make a
Those are
note
my
of that right now.
those are my own just out of everything in the world. That's just the one thing that I want. Um,
Yep.
so we've got quite a few people joining us on the stream at the moment, and Cadius, morning, Odd, good morning, Spook, morning. Uh, and people will start flowing in as we go through. So what I want to do is I want to ask you, why and where did it all begin?
Well, I've been building costumes forever. I think 2000 was the first costume I did. And I used to just kind of build them, paper mache, foam, kind of drop my own blueprints. And then I found out about Pepakura, and I was like, oh, this seems like a great program, except you're basically trying to figure out how all these pieces fit together in a void. You have no idea how anything's going to fit together. And I started getting really frustrated because you build a part, it's too big, too small, and nobody likes building a part multiple times. So I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So just decided to sit down and start hammering out my own program. I basically first went through and reverse engineered the Pepakura file format so I could load those in and out because I figured that was probably one of the biggest things because there's such a huge library of those files. And then just all kept building from there, kind of snowballing into a bigger and bigger product.
So the programming side of things, I mean, did you have to start from scratch and learn how to program, or are you a coder yourself?
I'm actually a coder myself. I've been doing game development since 2005. So I've worked
Oh,
for,
that
yeah,
shortcuts it.
yeah. I worked for Electronic Arts for a few years. And then I've been with Next Level Games for just about almost going on 11 years now. So we did
Oh,
things like Captain America, Luigi's Mansion.
very nice, very nice. Oh
Yeah,
God. I mean, I'm not au fait with a lot of the games because
yeah.
like yourself, I don't get time to play games much.
Yeah, exactly.
But when I do, I usually put the Oculus Quest headset on and just
Oh, nice.
disappear.
Yep.
So, and I would love a first-person 40K game. God, somebody make that
Be so good.
in
Did you play that
VR.
one a few years ago? What was that? The Warhammer that Relic put out, I think?
That is Space Hulk Death. No, not yeah, Space Hulk Deathwing. Space Hulk
Uh,
Deathwing
well,
was
yeah, there was like a first-person shooter Warhammer game, I
yeah,
think.
that's called Space
Yeah.
Hulk Deathwing.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
the one program or the one game in which I actually acquired the models to be able to make my Terminator.
Oh,
So
really? That's awesome. Yeah,
yeah,
because I have a bunch of friends that worked on that team. because it's in
Yeah, I mean,
Vancouver as well.
apologize to them for me actually having to rip the models, but um, I honestly, I look, I mean, I looked at the Pepakura files for the Terminator that
Yeah,
were out there in the world, and I started with them, and I actually made several parts, and put the parts into Armorsmith, did all the bits and pieces, did the resizing, and but it just, yeah, they were horrible.
yeah, they
The
just
the
didn't look right.
No, they didn't look right at all. So I scrapped them completely and started again.
Yeah,
And so that's when I spent about 3 weeks learning how to extract the models from the game. And
yeah,
I only got the models that I needed. I didn't extract everything.
yeah.
Um, but all I wanted to do was have a respectable Terminator. And the guys that actually made the models for the Terminators in that game, they had it right. They had the formula perfect. It was just
Yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah.
So, but without Armorsmith, I'm sorry, if I had to deal with just Pepakura to size things,
Oh, it'd be a nightmare.
I would have lost my shit over and over.
Yeah.
I did anyway, but
Oh, especially something that big.
it was monstrous. And to
Yeah,
like when I got to the chest, it scared the crap out of me because here I was, I've got this in Armorsmith, um, which actually I'll put Armorsmith up on the screen so people can actually see. This is Armorsmith Designer here. Okay, so this is the program we're currently talking about, and as you can see, you can rotate it around. One of the beautiful things is about Armorsmith Designer is you can literally resize every part of the mannequin to your exact proportions. Um, and and Randy's actually added an extra function which both he and I talked about, which was the ability to move the mannequin. So you can grab a part and you can move it around,
that's right.
so you can see where the armor clips. So once you put your pieces on, you can actually see where it hits other parts, etc. Now I believe there is development in progress for you know making red marks and things like that, so you got collision points. Or am I just
Yeah,
dreaming?
that's no, that's definitely a goal to get some kind of physics simulation in there, as well as once the physics simulation is in there, we can start doing things like auto size, where it kind of shrink fits across to fit on the parts and things like that,
All right.
which
Now,
will be really
now one
nice.
one thing I did actually talk about with you a while ago, but I don't know if you've actually got it through on any updates, was to widen the hip ball joints. Um,
No, I haven't had a chance to tackle that one yet.
okay.
I'm gonna do a big revamp of the avatar pretty soon, doing all like the tailor based measurements,
Yep.
because that's been a huge request. So when I start working on that, I'll start implementing a few of the additional avatar customizations, because I've also had things like eye points and noses for masks and things like that. So there's a better idea of where those are and being able to adjust those. So I think that'll be really big.
Oh, that'd be massive. Or even make it
Yeah.
a separate avatar for head only,
Oh,
maybe.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
That
that's not a bad
that's an
idea.
idea. That way you can have you don't have to have that complex level loaded.
Yeah.
Um, So, but I mean, it is an amazing piece of software, and
Oh, thank you.
there's been several streams that I've done where I've actually been sitting there on Armorsmith Designer, running people through. This is how you bring a part in. Now you can bring in Pepakura files, so .pdo files. You can bring in object files. You can bring in STLs, and the program will unfold the objects just like you do in Pepakura. So you can unfold
Exactly.
it out. Now, for those of you guys that don't know what we're talking about really, Pepakura is a Japanese paper folding program. It's designed specifically to take any 3D object and then unfold it so you can make it out of paper. So Randy has gone ahead and turned this into the cosplay tool of the gods. And one day I'm going to hit him up for the cloth version of
Yeah,
Armorsmith
that's
Designer.
coming. That's coming.
Oh, fantastic! Because there are so many seamstresses out there that would die for the ability to be able to have a virtual dress mannequin, throw something up, create a pattern, and thanks very much for coming.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be godly. And it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
PDO files. It could be something,
No, just start with
yeah.
anything and start sewing things together and
And I
cutting
mean,
the fabric out, drape it
yeah.
over the avatar and see where it sits and
Oh, that would be just unbelievable. I mean, we've got Charmaine on the line, uh, and she is yeah, she's a seamstress. She just makes a lot of cloth stuff and leather stuff and things like that. I reckon
Right.
she would die for something like this. So walk us through some of the updates and bits and pieces, or anything. Feel free. Like actually, we'll have a look. We'll have a look at some of the questions here. So
Sure.
Spook says, do you did you learn programming to make Armorsmith? I think we answered that one.
Yeah.
So he says you can play as a Space Marine in VR chat. Yep, Spook, I know that. I already have a Space Marine avatar in VR chat. Thanks. Show the Terminator. Oh my God. If you guys want to see the Terminator, you can jump on my Facebook page, and there's quite a number of pictures and whatnot. I
There you
believe
go.
Randy's actually seen the Terminator before,
Hmm.
um, and and I do credit him for for a lot of the fact that I do have that Terminator, and I was able to make that Terminator and make it function correctly. Because without Armorsmith, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, dude, without Armorsmith,
Well,
I
I
would not
appreciate it.
have been able to do it. So it would have been next to impossible. So
Wow,
and
it's an amazing, amazing costume.
my next project will actually, without Armorsmith, there is no way, hope in hell I would be able to make it. So okay, we're opening up the floor to a few questions.
Yeah.
So we got Charmaine. Charmaine's actually she's just swooning at the moment for a fabric version. um, Now,
See a lot of,
one of the biggest questions is there going to be a Mac version?
yeah, that I get a lot of requests for. The biggest obstacle is just time because it's just me working on it. I don't have a Mac at home, so I'd have to go out and pick up a Mac, and it would basically pause development of the main program for probably 2 to 3 months to get the Mac version going.
I'm
So
not
if
going
I
to
ever
put
hit
up
a
with that.
point,
Mac people can go to
yeah,
hell.
exactly. That's been kind of the general consensus. But if I ever hit a point where I kind of hit a feature freeze where I'm happy with the feature set, then yes, I'll tackle a Mac version of it. But until then, it's the PC version's the main focus.
So okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the Terminator up on the other screen so we can have a bit of a look see, so we can see the level of uh, of beauty of Armorsmith. So bear with me while I just jump across and
Yeah.
try and find a picture. I've got hundreds, I swear. So all right, there's a really good one. Now let me just switch the screen across. There we go, guys. So that is the Terminator and a couple of Sisters of Battle. Um, so the Terminator itself is just beautiful. It is actually that's probably one of the worst photos I've seen because the thighs have actually dropped and all sorts of things at that point. I had a few technical issues.
Oh, it always
So
happens with costumes. Oh, but look at it. It's amazing right there.
it is a little it's oh, and there's my disgustingly messy workshop, but you can see the Terminator standing in the background there. Yeah, look there it with to be honest, without Armorsmith, I would never have done it. I would never have been
Wow.
able to actually get it finished up the way it is and be able to do it justice.
Ah, I
Um,
appreciate that. It's always
so
great to see what people are building with it. It just
oh
blows me away.
man, I'm happy to push it across the board. You know, I think I've on-sold it for you quite a few times, and
Yeah, for sure.
and given and it's not necessarily about on-selling it or anything like that. Because guys, I'm not getting any commission from Randy, by the way.
Yeah.
um, but I just truly believe in this program because it is just beautiful. And we do find bugs occasionally as
Yeah.
users, and Randy is more than happy to be able to answer those questions, facilitate that both on his Facebook page, and so there is a Facebook group for Armorsmith designers. So once you actually buy the program, don't think that you're out in the cold, left alone.
No.
A lot of people can, there's a lot of videos out there, simple how-tos. I've got a few on my actual YouTube channel of how-tos with Armorsmith. Dave Barnes has got a couple. Randy's got a whole crap load.
Yeah.
But
Wayne's Workshop as well. He's
Wayne's
got a bunch
Workshop,
of
and
yeah.
I think I actually reached out to Wayne and asked if he was willing to come on an interview as well. He's a little busy at the moment, but
Yeah,
he'll
he's
get
always a
there.
really busy guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So making those smoke generators, bastards.
Yeah.
So, but you've got people of the level of SKS Props and and Wayne's Workshop, and I even just introduced Fred and Ellie Designs to it, so that they can start using that as well. And once a material version comes out, they're just going to love that. Uh, you know, it's kind of going to be it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, that'll
so
be the
uh,
big update.
so Charmaine's heading off. She's in Tasmania.
Oh
She
wow.
says, Terry and fellow live watchers have a great day. So she's going to go and do Sunday things, and but all right. So let's get back to
Yeah,
our general conversation we're having about Armorsmith. Now you're a costume maker as well,
I am. I am.
and all right. So talk to us about some of your costumes. Tell us about your
Oof.
first.
Oh man. Well, the very first costume I did way back in the day was Optimus Prime, and I made it all out of just like chicken wire and paper mache.
Oh dear God.
It was it was painful. It was painful to wear. And yeah, I went through about probably 5 or 6 years of doing different Transformers, and then did the Master Chief from Halo.
Mm.
Started getting into the Iron Man stuff. I did the first set of Peppa Griff files for the Mark III Iron Man costume, so I modeled that up and released that to the public. And then I've just been building since there. I did War Machine that was all done in Armorsmith that I was really proud of. Had the motorized gun came up on the back, and the
I
faceplate was all
saw that.
motorized.
That was
Yeah,
incredible. That was just jaw-dropping.
that was a
Ah.
fun costume to do. Yeah, done Ninja Turtles, pretty much everything that's any popular '80s franchise I've done. Yeah, the most interesting journey was last year. I did He-Man for New York City Comic Con. So I spent a year just working out to get in shape for the costume.
Oh my
And
God.
that was
Most
the,
people would have just built a muscle suit and painted it
yeah,
up.
exactly. No,
No.
so that was instead of dedicating myself to just building the costume, it was working out in order to do the costume. So that was
Oh
fun.
yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
some serious
Yeah.
dedication right there. Meanwhile, here I just build bigger costumes so I don't have to lose weight.
Yeah. Well, now I've sunk back to just doing that, but yeah.
So all right,
Uh,
so well, I mean your War Machine costume. I mean that's probably I think the one that impressed me the most across the board, and I think it was about that time when you were doing that was when I was introduced to Armorsmith,
yeah,
or at least
sounds about
you'd
right.
finished that costume, I think.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just looked at it and went, what a perfect use for Armorsmith. A costume that is rigid yet practically skin tight.
Yeah, exactly. You got to make sure
How do you
everything.
take a 40 plus year old, 50 plus year old person who doesn't have the gym body and slap them in an Iron Man costume comfortably
Yeah, and make sure everything looks quite right
and
because
make sure it
it
all
all
looks quite
comes
right?
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all comes down to proportions, and you can make a costume look perfect as long as the proportions are all there.
Yeah, I mean you
Which
can
can be really hard to do when you're scaling everything kind of in a void without knowing how all the pieces kind of look next to each other.
Oh, exactly. I mean, this is the biggest problem that I found is when you're
Yeah,
trying to make a costume, or even like, I mean, some of the costumes I've made have been freehand, so zero computer use,
yeah,
and you'll go through probably three or four types, or three or four amounts of foam and materials before you'll get something that is practical and usable.
yeah,
And and then it's still always not quite right. If you had
yeah,
the ability to be able to take it onto onto the computer to run through the 3D process, and with that 3D process, guys, you can use numerous free programs out there. I personally use Blender. There's a hell of a lot of videos online about Blender and how to use it and how to create 3D objects, etc. And then, you can make something the size of a little model. It won't matter because then you can just resize it in Armorsmith
Yeah,
to suit
exactly.
yourself.
Yeah.
And
And the new version of Blender is amazing.
the new version of Blender is actually really easy to use. I found it so much more intuitive, and yeah, it's just yeah. So it's yeah 3D, but so all right, let's have a quick chat about what's on your current future roadmap for the program.
Yeah. Yeah. So the big thing that I'm working on right now is what I'm calling the 3D workbench. And basically, the idea behind that is that you'll have a base set of basic templates across different genres for, say, gauntlets, chest armor, helmets, you know, all different types of armor. And then you'll have, say, like medieval, space, robots, and there'll be kind of these generic shapes and pieces that
Hmm.
you can then bring into the 3D workshop and then kind of kit bash these things together to make different costume parts. So that you can essentially make any costume that you want directly in Armorsmith and then paint them so that you get an idea of what it's going to look like after it's painted and then get it all scaled correctly and away you go.
Wow. All right, that's going to be
And
interesting.
then yeah, exactly. And the nice thing about that is, since they're all these predefined parts, all the patterns will already be there for you because they're already pre-unwrapped. So basically, all you have to do is smash things together, attach them to the avatar, make sure it all fits, and then print out the patterns.
That's going to make costuming so much more easy, so much simpler and easier to do. Especially if you want to
Exactly.
do a unique character or something like that. If
Yep.
or
Exactly.
you want to do a crossover or a combination character.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. It's kind of like in games when you have like a custom character creation. So it's kind of taking the aspects that they have for that and applying it to making costumes so that it kind of brings it to the masses and makes it easy to get into for anybody that's new to the hobby.
so Spook has asked, how good is Armorsmith for cosplays based on biological stuff?
Um, yeah, I don't think that matters too much. It's all based on the templates, right? So if you can find a good model in that's biological looking, uh, yeah, it should work well. I've used it for Ninja Turtle. I've used it for a Bowser costume I did a few years ago
Hmm.
from Mario, and yeah, you can
Okay.
definitely use it for biological stuff.
Excellent. That sounds good. Now, Cadius has asked, so will it remove the need for Pepakura?
That's the goal.
So the only downside that I found, and I spoke to Randy about this already, guys, is that you can't save your parts in as PDO files out of Armorsmith. So
Yeah,
you can't export a part as a PDO file to share it with somebody else, but you can export the whole lot as an
yeah,
Armorsmith file.
yeah.
Um, so, are you considering actually making your own file format or something that you can
Yeah,
just
I mean
export individual
yeah,
parts?
we could definitely add like a dot part file format that just exports the individual parts. There's definitely nothing in the program that limits doing something like that.
What would be the different? What would be the problem if you actually made it a PDO? Would there be
The
any
problem
issue?
with the problem with the PDO format is that it has this CRC hash encryption that's generated based on some sort of settings within the file that I don't know how they generate that, and Pepakura won't load a PDO that I generate unless I generate that number in the right way.
Yeah, it's
And I
encrypting the
just have
file for their
yeah,
own uses, so that
exactly.
people
And so
can't do
I just
exactly
have
what we're
no,
doing.
yeah, and I just have no idea how they're generating that hash ID. So unless I figure that out, there's no way for me to export PDO from Armorsmith.
So yeah, a dot part file would be perfect because I've numerous times I've wanted to be able to just dump out a single part,
Yeah,
and then come back to it later on, and because obviously you go through your fold process. Now one of the things is I was using Armorsmith rather than Pepakura to do all my pattern making. So guys, when you unfold an object just directly, Even in Pepakura, Armorsmith doesn't matter. It will come out in lots of little bits and pieces and very
Yeah.
disorganized. And then, one of the processes you have to go through is to join and just disjoin some of these parts in order to make the correct shapes that you'll then cut out. And there's a little bit of a learning curve involved with that, but it's not that difficult to do. But
Yeah.
in saying that, when I was doing it in Armorsmith, obviously I can't export that part out to give it to somebody else then.
Yeah, you gotta
So
export the
I got to
entire
export the
costume.
entire thing, the entire costume out. So, having the ability to export that individual part would be priceless. And then obviously, once people start getting those dot part files or whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
then they're going to start taking over the whole Pepakura side of things. So
Oh, I
Peppa,
should add that in because it's honestly it's probably not more than an hour or two of work to put that in.
and it would be honestly it would be a fantastic upgrade for the software. And then obviously you could look at the social implications of that, where dot part files, or as I said, whatever you want to call them, we'll call them
Yeah.
dot randy files, the dot randy files.
Yeah.
20 years down the track, all you're seeing on the net is dot randy files.
Amazing. That'll
So
go over big in England.
it would go over very big in England. So, but look, I mean, that would make it so much easier to transport different costume parts around and things like that, where instead of having a .armor file that most people can't use unless they've got Armorsmith, even like for instance, if you've got like say Pepakura, they got Pepakura Viewer.
Yeah.
If you built a mini version of Armorsmith where you had Armorsmith Viewer,
Yeah. I've thought a lot about that. We're thinking more from the mobile side, having something that you can have on your tablet and just load up the files and be able to reference while you're building.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
Spooks just asked, where can I download slash buy this from? You can go to the Armorsmith Garage, or is it
The
Armorsmith?
Armored Garage.
Oh, the Armored Garage. So,
Yeah.
thearmoredgarage.com, or just simply type into Google Armorsmith
Yeah.
Designer, and it'll
Yeah. It'll
come
be
up.
the first.
And it's $30 US, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct.
And to be honest, now it's a lifetime license, if I'm correct as well.
That's correct. Yeah.
And how
Yeah.
many how
You
many
get all the.
systems can you put that license on? Just one or two?
You can put it on multiple systems, but the license technically says you can only have one user per license.
So one user per license.
Yeah.
So like for instance, I've got a laptop which I haven't put it on yet.
Yeah.
Which if I was to put it on the laptop so I could use it when I'm out and about, that'd
Yeah.
be great. But obviously, we don't want to share it around and things. Otherwise,
Exactly.
Randy's going to have to lock it down even further, and then he's going to put
Exactly.
restrictions
Nobody
on
wants
it.
that. Yeah.
Nobody wants that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, thearmoredgarage.com, and so there's also a link in the description of this video of this live stream.
Perfect.
So simply click on that. You can cruise on straight over to there, pick it up, and start having a play. Now, if you have any questions at all, and don't hesitate to hit me up, or Randy on, or actually even the group.
Yeah.
So the Facebook group for Armorsmith Designer.
Yeah.
So I think it's just called Armorsmith, is it? The group?
Yeah, I think it's just Armorsmith.
Yep.
But definitely if you go on Facebook and look up Armorsmith Designer, it should be the top one that comes up.
And there's a lot of people on there who are both, expert users, beginner users, intermediate, etc., that are just having so much of fun playing with this program.
Yeah.
And so, all right, is there anything on the roadmap that you want to add, like for instance what we talked about earlier?
Definitely. I've already been making notes as we've been doing this video of things to add. It's been great.
So one of the things I've asked Randy for is for something similar to Inkscape, where you
Yeah.
can adjust the vector lines. You can make individual parts and things. So, for instance, you can get a square, and then you can adjust that square around on the 2D like area. Um, or say, for instance, one of my biggest banes is, especially when I'm working in foam, and you have like it's okay when you've got a single join, but when you've got an overlap, or an area where you require X distance, I then have to
Hmm.
take the entire file that's dumped out of Armorsmith, or the PDF file or DXF file. I have to then take that into Inkscape and adjust all the lines and everything to suit my
Right. If you
new.
could just go in and edit the pattern
If I
directly.
could go in and edit the pattern directly. The next one is the functionality in Inkscape that allows me to turn like individual vector lines. Say, for instance, if I have a circle, one of the problems with Pepakura, and it carries across to Armorsmith, is the
Yeah.
fact is that when you have a circle or an arc,
Right.
that is made up of
It's
straight lines.
yeah.
Okay, so it's the way the program does it, and
Yeah.
sometimes those straight lines don't join together.
Yeah. Being
So
able to
there
turn
are,
that into a curve.
you want to be able to turn that into a curve and take those individual vector points and connect them together so that
Yep.
when you dump it out, for those of us that use laser cutters
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
etc., so
As I do.
we can generate that beautiful pattern. And again, when you print it out, it doesn't come out all lined and weird looking. It
Hmm.
comes out beautiful and curved, and you can make some
Yep.
true patterns that you can hang on to. So,
Yeah. We can definitely add that to the roadmap.
we've got Spook says, do you have material simulation?
Yeah. Not currently, but we would like to add that down the road. Once I finish with this 3D workbench feature, that's probably going to be the next one. It'll either be that or getting the vector stuff back in there.
Get the vector stuff
Um,
back. Get the vector stuff
okay.
back. that's
There you
that's
have it.
like
Vector
you have
stuff first.
you have no idea of how much myself and lots of others need that because
Yeah.
with the onset of using lasers in cosplay now,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
you're requiring a cleaner, neater cut. You can't take something
Yeah.
directly out of Pepakura or Armorsmith or anything like that and then you know send that to a laser
Yeah.
because it's going to cut those weird, jaggedy shapes. In
Yeah.
which a friend of mine, Rory, found out when he took the or the Pepakura files into Armorsmith, sized it up, did all the bits and pieces, uh, dumped it out, and brought it straight in as a DXF into the laser program, and was wondering
Yeah.
why he had like
Why is it so jagged?
so jagged, curves and bits and pieces, and that doesn't look very good on an Iron Man.
Yeah, for sure.
So where everything has to be very, very fine and pretty.
Yeah.
But with those levels of functionality, so going on the Inkscape stuff and being able to do vector adjustment, and make curves and things like that, the ability to be able to with that functionality, being able to add like overlaps and things for certain parts, so that and if that would be possible to carry across to the model, that would be even better. So then you could see where
Oh,
that
yeah, to
overlap.
go back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little trickier.
Oh no, that would that
But
would
get
be that would be a lot trickier, even if it's in like an
yeah,
extra line, like an extra part that's
right.
put on,
Yeah, yeah, almost
just
like
to
a
show you
layer
where
on
the fold
top.
line, yeah, show you where the
Yep.
fold lines are and stuff like that.
Yeah, something like that would probably be doable to do it as like a layer on top.
Yeah, that would work out very very well. Now that plus the exporting part files individually would be fantastic,
Yeah.
and and then I think you've got DXF files already, the ability to export
Yep.
DXF files. Have
Yep.
you considered also being able to export, your standard vector file formats?
Like SVG or is there one?
SVG, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't, but it would probably be easy to add. Like DXF support was not too difficult to add.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think
yeah,
S
there just hasn't been any requests for it. Stuff like that I usually kind of put in as like a
as
request
requested.
basis.
Well,
Yeah,
consider it
yeah.
requested because there's like Pepacure, I believe, does have SVG output.
Yeah, I think it has DXF, SVG, and I think one other one as well.
Yeah, I
I
think they
can't
do
remember.
PDF.
Yeah, it could be.
So, but the ability to do that would make it so much simpler for making patterns for other people as well. So if you can
Right,
take SVG out, you can bring that directly into,
right.
your
Inkscape or
Word, Inkscape, whatever,
yeah,
and you can make up a document. You can make up your stacked layers and bits and pieces, so that
yeah,
you can distribute a nice pattern out to other people that don't have the program or don't have the ability to do this sort of stuff.
right. Yeah, that'd be
So.
a good feature addition for
And
sure.
please, please, please change those numbers to percentages.
Okay, okay, that's number one. Number
That's
one on
number
the
one on
list.
the list. So one of my personal gripes about Armorsmith, and Randy's been aware of this for quite some time because I
Hmm.
pester him regularly on it, is the on the number, like on the side. Most programmers like to work in decimals, and
Yeah,
so 1.00 equals 100%. So that's how the coding brain works. But the cosplay brain works in percentages. So, like for instance, if you're talking about opacity of an object, which I walked
right.
through on Armorsmith the other day, I was showing
Yeah,
how to turn a part opaque so you could see through it and you could see things, what was going on inside. And so obviously I want that at 50%, not 0.5. But just having the ability to have a tick box inside the options where you can swap that to percent
yeah.
for
Switch between the two.
everything,
Yeah,
or just have it as normal. It
yeah,
would work out very, very well.
yeah, yeah. That should
So
totally be doable.
excellent, because
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
just make my life so much simpler. So all right,
yeah.
Randy, is there anything you wanted to add, like on the roadmap that personally you want to do?
I mean, the couple of things that I'm really excited to work on is the doing the cloth simulation so that you can do fabric patterns,
Mm-hmm.
because I think that'd be a really interesting problem set to solve. And then the other thing that I think would be a lot of fun is getting the painting in there. So being able to go in with like a spray paint or paintbrush kind of a thing and go in and paint the costumes and kind of see exactly what they'd look like before you
Kind
make
of,
them. So you can
kind of
kind of
like
play
3D
around with,
paint, like 3D
yeah,
paint in
exactly.
Windows, yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Ah,
exactly. So you
well, I
get an
mean,
idea and play around with the colors and figure out exactly what you want to get in there.
yeah. From
And then if there was
personally,
some
I
way
wouldn't
to,
like something like that. I mean, that
yeah,
wouldn't. I mean, I'd like the functionality of that and the ability to have
yeah,
that, but I don't think I'd use it.
yeah,
Um, but I'm coming from a pure construction level, not from the
exactly,
aesthetic
yeah,
level. So on
yeah,
the aesthetic side of things, being able to import textures and things like that would be good.
hmm, yeah,
So you could have your texture map for your character, and you could just
yeah,
bring that straight in. And as some of us know with OBJ files, they have a material file which
yeah. That's
comes
that's that's
across.
on that's on the roadmap to get that working because it brings in textures from PDO files, but it doesn't read the material files for OBJs.
Right. So, I mean, personally, I don't use that functionality at all.
Yeah,
Um,
but there is a lot of people that do.
then yeah, we need to get that in there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for
also,
sure.
the collision physics for the model
Yeah,
would be
yeah, that would
fantastic.
be, yeah, yeah, that
Um,
would be a good one to get in there.
because it would save you spinning the model around and around and around it, and then
Yeah.
changing opaque settings and things just to
Yeah.
try and see where one part collides with another one, and yeah, it would make it so much simpler.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
But again, with me, my wish list is that vector adjustment.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's probably the biggest one that I've heard from a lot of people that they'd like to see that in there.
Now,
So that's
you already had that in a version. What happened?
I did. Uh, so I had that all in there and working, and it was great. And then my laptop got stolen, and I hadn't been backing up regularly, and I lost about 6 months of development, and that almost killed Armorsmith. It took a lot to kind of get back up there, start reworking everything. I thankfully had all the change logs, so I just took all my change logs and took a look at what I had implemented, the bugs I had fixed, and just went through and redid everything that I had done,
Oh,
kind of getting that stuff in there.
that would
It
have been
was,
just horrible.
yeah, yeah. The worst part about that was that I found the person that had the laptop and tried to get in touch with police, got in touch with her, was trying to get everything sorted out, but it was like some homeless person and just never was able to get it back. Yeah. It was
Well,
rough. It was a tough one.
I'm glad you stuck with it, mate. I'm seriously
Yeah.
glad you stuck with it. Okay, because without you, there will be a lot of us sitting there stumbling around in the dark.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, is there anything else you wanted to add to let everybody know what's going on or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that's those are kind of the big things. We're working on the Patreon right now, so getting content going for that. Been working with a couple of friends filming Armorsmith tutorials and things like that that you'll probably see coming down the pipe. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that. Just trying to support the community and get everybody going on Armorsmith.
Excellent. So, all right. So we've got, Randy Cavanagh has a Patreon. He's got the Facebook group. He's got your website, which is the
Yep,
Armored Garage. I keep wanting to say the Armorsmith Garage, but it's
I
not.
know.
It's the armoredgarage.com,
Yep,
which the link is actually in the description. And
perfect.
so, all right, Randy, thank you so much for coming along today
Oh,
and
thank you for
having a bit of a
having
chat.
me.
Oh, anytime, mate, anytime. And I am going to keep you updated on the new build.
Fantastic.
I did have somebody ask on the chat earlier, if I could show them my new build in Armorsmith. It's not in there yet. I've only just got the 3D model, and all I've been doing is
Yep.
live streaming. So, all right, well, on that note, we'll wrap it up. Is there anything else you wanted to add for everybody?
No, I think that's everything.
Go buy
Just keep on, keep
Armorsmith!
on, keep on smithing.
Keep on smithing. So, all right, Randy, thank you so much for coming on, and
Oh, thank you.
we'll definitely be chatting again in the future.
Perfect.
So, all right, guys, that was Randy Kavanagh coming live from Canada with Armorsmith Designer, the best program for cosplay building on the planet. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you guys very, very shortly.